Again, good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Witherspoon, Deputy Project Director for Public Outreach and Communications for the Purple Line. On behalf of Governor Larry Hogan, Transportation Secretary Gregory Slater, and Acting Maryland Transit Administration Administrator Holly Arnold, welcome to the 8th Community Advisory Team meeting for the Bethesda Chevy Chase area. As you can see, I've raided Mike Madden's closet for his supply of purple ties. Due to COVID restrictions, we are trying the Teams format this time. It's a little different and we hope easier to use than last time out. Please bear with us as we navigate this round of live public meetings. And please make sure your phones are muted. This evening's presentation is being recorded, so you'll be able to find it later on our website, purplelinemd.com. That's purplelinemd.com. And you'll find it there along with responses to questions we could either not answer or could not get to tonight. Next slide, please. Tonight's presentation will introduce, the project leaders will introduce themselves and we'll go over ground rules for the meeting. We'll discuss project status, give you a look at the light rail vehicles. They look great, by the way. Get a construction update, and we'll tell you how to stay up to date on the project. Then we'll open the floor to questions. Here are the leaders of the Mdot MTA Department of Transit Development and Delivery, which oversees the project. Matt.
Thank you, Gary. Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Pollock, Executive Director for Transit Development and Delivery for Mdot MTA, and I am responsible for delivering the Purple Line. Next, I am pleased to introduce the Purple Line's Project Director, Vern Hartsock.
Thank you, Matt, and good evening to everyone. Again, I'm Vern Hartsock, the Project Director. I'm responsible for the design, construction, and operations of the Purple Line. I'll now introduce Anita Rogers, who is our Acting Deputy Project Director, and who recently accepted a very well-deserved promotion to become the newest member of our senior leadership team. Anita?
Thank you, Vern. Good evening, everyone. As Vern said, I am Anita Rogers, the Acting Deputy Project and Contracting Officer for Mdot MTA. Just a little background information about me. I've been with MTA for 6 years, and since then, I've been on the Purple Line project since 2017. My responsibilities include contracting, project controls, contract and project administration, diversity and inclusions. And I have a great team supporting me, and I look forward to taking this project to completion. Back to you, Vern. I'm sorry, Gary.
Thank you, Anita. Now for some ground rules. Next slide, please. We ask that everyone is treated courteously and with respect. No rude comments, please. Everyone should feel welcome to participate. And please hold your questions until the end of the meeting and take turns, one at a time. Wait to be called on to ask a question. Please raise your hand using the icon on your screen, and we will accept questions and comments first from CAB members and elected officials, and then the general public. All participants' lines will be muted until we open up the question portion of the meeting. The chat function will be monitored during the meeting, so you can also type in your questions. Next slide, please. We'll cover the segment of the Purple Line that includes the following stations: Bethesda Metro and Connecticut Avenue. Now back to Deputy Project Director Anita Rogers. As Project Director Vern Hartsock said, Anita is the newest addition to project leadership, but she has served in the background on the financial side of things for a few years. And you might have seen her video posted on the project's social media pages during Women's History Month. Collectively, Matt, Vern, and Anita represent the new leaders of the Office of Transit Development and Delivery. Anita?
Thank you, Gary. Just to give you some project updates, the settlement agreement was approved by the Board of Public Works and the Purple Line Transit Partners, which is PLTP, and they have started the procurement process to resolicit the project for a new design builder contractor. In addition to that, Mdot MTA jointly with PLTP, we will have final approval over selected replacement design build contractor. Mdot MTA has continued to manage and advance the construction during this interim period. In addition to that, we have been busy over the last 6 months, and I want to bring you up to date on the progress that we have made to get a new design builder on board. So next slide, please. As you can see, in January, our concessionaire, which is the Purple Line Transit Partner, issued a request for qualifications to several firms that previously expressed interest in working on the Purple Line project. In March, PLTP received qualifications from a number of firms and whittled that number down to 3 qualified design build teams who received the request for proposals. And these 3 teams consist of, as you can see, Hallmark International, Maryland Transit Solutions, who is comprised of, of Drogados USA, along with OHL USA. The last one is Tudor Perini Lunda, a joint venture. And we're just excited about where the project is going. So these 3 proposal teams are currently reviewing documents. They're asking questions. They're conducting site visits. They're performing due diligence to evaluate the project. In addition to that, at the request of these 3 proposal teams, the state, along with PLTP, have mutually agreed to extend the solicitation period for 60 days. And this will allow the teams more time to price the work going forward in a thoughtful and competitive manner. In addition to that, which so much existing information to absorb, the additional time will help the teams to go deeper into the data, reduce their risk, provide the best value to the state, and ensure a successful project restart. Now, once the best value is selected from the design build, our next step is to go to the Board of Public Works for review and approval, and we're estimating that in the fall of 2021. Next slide, please. And at this time, I would like to pass it over to Vern Hartsock, our project director, who will discuss Mdot MTA's management of manufacturing and construction. Vern?
Thank you very much, Anita. Yes, to report, as Anita had mentioned, the state is managing the construction during this interim period while the new design builder is being solicited. As for an update on the light rail vehicles, I want to mention that our light rail vehicles are the longest in North America. They're 140 foot long, and they're comprised of 5 segments known as car shells. These car shells are fabricated and painted in Spain, then shipped to Elmira, New York, where they're populated with electromechanical systems and equipment necessary to outfit them and connect them together to form a safe transit vehicle. Now, a little bit of the production status of these car shells. All 130 have been fabricated. 94 of them have been painted. 82 of them are in Elmira, New York for assembly. 5 are in transit from Spain to Elmira, and 7 are awaiting shipment from Spain to Elmira. Next slide, please. I'm now going to talk about the work that we've managed over the last 6 months. And let me mention first that whenever building a light rail line, the first order of business is always utility relocation. Because when building a light rail line, you have to bury a variety of infrastructure in the ground, including duct banks and cable trays for electrical systems, communications, and train control, as well as drainage systems, sub-ballast, ballast, railroad ties, track, catenary poles, and their foundations, which each of those foundations can be up to 19 feet in the ground, as well as retaining walls and such. So, again, the first thing we have to do is relocate any utilities that obstruct this construction, both underground and overhead. So during the past 6 months in this area, we've completed the Connecticut Avenue light rail bridge substructure, and we also completed the Connecticut Avenue CCT bridge substructure, and we've completed construction of parapets on the Chevy Lakes Terrace CCT bridge. Now, in case one was wondering what a parapet is, it's the wall that comes up from a bridge that prevents the pedestrians from falling off, a very important aspect of that construction. As well as we've placed the Jones Mill underpass backfill, and we've completed substructure concrete placement for the new pedestrian bridge. Next slide, please. Here are some photos of the progress. The photos here detail the Connecticut Avenue abutment construction. What you see spanning Connecticut Avenue are called tub girders. They're actually hollow, and inspectors in the future go inside those girders and inspect their condition. And the abutments are where the bridge, the girder elements are secured on each end. You see that construction. Next slide, please. This is a photo showing the Jones Mill Road underpass. You see the underpass there, the large segment for the LRT, the smaller segment for the CCT. Next slide, please. Here we have the Rock Creek concrete placement for the new pedestrian bridge. And you see the LRT section is to the left. Again, there's those large girders you see, part of our construction. Next slide, please. Now, let me just mention that this utility relocation work is going to continue over the next 6 months throughout the end of 2021. I'm now going to pass to Gary Witherspoon for an update on construction work times. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vern. As you can tell, our typical day shift will run from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and our typical night shift from 7 p.m. to 4:30 a.m. Our makeup or maintenance day will be Saturdays as required. You'll see notifications for all work zones and hours in which work will be conducted, along with any lane closures needed, posted on purplelinemd.com. That's purplelinemd.com. Next slide, please. You should know that existing traffic patterns will change as work occurs as needed. Work may occur on both sides of the road and across roadways. When a lane closure is required, a notice will be distributed via text and email, but everyone has to sign up. You have to sign up through purplelinemd.com. Again, purplelinemd.com, and you can get those alerts. Throughout our sites, you may see orange cones and barrels serving as temporary barricades, and you'll see flag persons when required to direct traffic. We ask you to be especially careful around our construction sites. Pedestrian safety is paramount, as is the safety of our workers. We want everyone to make it home safely every day. Safety, after all, is our #1 priority. And finally, because underground utility work is ongoing, you may see temporary road plates in place. Please be careful when driving or walking over those. Next slide. You'll be excited to know that the Mdot MTA has a business engagement team in the Purple Line Project Management Office to foster relationships with those businesses along the alignment that may be impacted. That team is led by Leslie Leith, the longtime senior liaison on the project. And it includes Marlene Veras, the business engagement officer for Prince George's County, and Mdot, the business engagement officer for Montgomery County. I also want to acknowledge the outreach team members who help arrange these meetings and prepare these presentations. Outreach manager Lauren Garrett, Julio Cerrone, our digital engagement liaison, and Genesis Baez, the new liaison for Prince George's County. Running tonight's presentation is Chris Stokes, who leads the project's photo and video efforts. We are grateful for their hard work. Next slide, please. Again, you can sign up for construction notices at purplelinemd.com, purplelinemd.com. For project questions and comments, contact us at the outreach office at outreach@purplelinemd.com. Outreach@purplelinemd.com. You can call us at 443-451-3706. Or if you're a Spanish speaker, you can call us at 443-451-3705. We're manning our hotlines, so someone will be available to take your calls around the clock. And please follow us on social media. We've got great stuff on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, including Anita Rogers. Next slide, please. This concludes our CAT presentation. Before we open the meeting to live questions, I'd like to acknowledge that we also have on the call tonight Joe Moges from the State Highway Administration, and we have Delegate Jared Solomon, Delegate Al Carr, and a representative from Delegate Mark Corman's office. Delegate Solomon, do you have any words for us? Please mute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation, for resuming the CAT meetings. I think we're all anxious to see construction resume, to see the project, get back on track later this fall. I did have a quick question, but I can hold that when we get to the Q&A.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Delegate Carr. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay, sorry. Yes, good evening. Thank you so much to everyone for being here. Thank you to the MTA team for your communication with the community.
Thank you. And Delegate Mark Corman's office. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you again for doing this community meeting. Our office greatly appreciates it.
Thank you. Now, Matt Pollock will address questions that came in before the meeting. We'll invite you to raise your hand afterwards so we can acknowledge you. Then you should unmute yourself by clicking on your microphone, and then we can take your questions live. Matt?
Thank you, Gary. Let's take a look at the questions that came in ahead of time. Chris, do we have a separate slide for that? There we go. Okay. Let's look at the first one. There are now 2 separate spans for the Connecticut Avenue Purple Line overpass. Will there be an additional span for the trail, or is the span work complete? The span work is not complete. The 2 girders that have been erected are for the light rail vehicle bridge. The next design builder will be responsible for setting the girders for the CCT bridge. And let's see the next one. If there is need for additional spans to bridge Connecticut, approximately when is that work planned? Great follow-up question to the first one. Well, as I mentioned before, there is an additional span required for the CCT bridge. And at this time, we don't know when that'll take place. When our new design builder is on board, they will be providing a full construction schedule, and we'll be able to then at that time share that information locally. All right. Question: when will work on the station at Connecticut Avenue begin? It's really essentially the same answer. We don't have it because we don't have the schedule right now. With our design builder coming on board, by the end of this year, they're going to be giving us an early mobilization schedule. So we'll know if there are early items that they're addressing, we'll know that right off the bat. And then as they get into the project, they'll be giving us a full construction schedule, which will take us all the way to revenue service, and we'll know exactly what's their plan. All right. Are there more questions? Oh, a long one. Okay. The intensive development around the Connecticut Avenue station has raised concern regarding the flow of traffic in that area. Presumably, there will be both buses and private vehicles dropping passengers off for the Purple Line. With hundreds of residential units and a large number of commercial properties being built adjacent to the station, there will be additional volume throughout the day. What measures are being undertaken to avoid buildups on Connecticut Avenue, Manor Road, Chevy Chase Lake Drive, and Chevy Chase Lake Terrace? Okay, great. Most of the Purple Line stations, including this elevated station at Connecticut Avenue, they've been designed as neighborhood stations where essentially users will be walking, biking, or taking alternative transit to access the stations. Connecticut Avenue is not intended to operate as a drop-off lane for private vehicles. We will have appropriate signage in place, and we'll be incorporating this information into the customer education and marketing program as we get closer to the start of light rail service. Regarding the ongoing and upcoming private developments underway in the surrounding areas, each developer should be coordinating with SHA, State Highway, and Montgomery County regarding traffic studies and any accommodations necessary due to traffic volume increases. We'll work closely with our partners at State Highway and Montgomery County to mitigate any future problems that may arise. As always, we have Marcela Cordova here from Montgomery County DOT. So before jumping off the question, I'd just open it up to see if there's anything that Marcela would like to add.
Hi, Matt. Hi, everyone. I think you've covered it. I can answer any questions if there are any.
Thanks, Marcela. Are there additional written questions, Chris?
Before we open it up to the next set of questions, I'd like to acknowledge Aaron Kraut with Councilmember Andrew Friedson's office.
Hello, thanks for that, and thanks for the presentation. I do have a few questions, but just let me know when to chime in.
Okay, we also have with us Irene Lane, Vice Mayor of Chevy Chase.
Thank you, thanks, and like others, I have questions, and when the time comes, I will ask them. Thanks.
Okay. All right, well, Aaron, back to you. Please fire away with the questions.
Sure, thank you. Just generally, you talked about some of the utility work that still has to be done. Can you talk more specifically about, is that work going to be done in the section between the Bethesda and Chevy Chase Lake station? There just doesn't seem to have been a lot at all going on recently in that section. So is there any way to sort of drill down?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to answer it from a short answer, and then I'm going to have Kevin Oberheim with our construction team either correct me or add any additional details. Yes, you're correct, Aaron. We've been concentrating on the utility relocations, which are risky from a construction schedule point of view, because sometimes when you dig up the ground, you find things that you weren't expecting, and so you sometimes have additional work uncovered when you go down there. There aren't many utilities that need relocating in the Bethesda Chevy Chase area, which is why you really haven't seen anything. Most of the utilities are already out of the way, and certainly there are no utilities directly underneath the Capitol Crescent or Georgetown Branch Trail, which is why you aren't seeing a high level of effort in those areas. But Kevin, can you either correct or add or?
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Okay.
pretty well, Matt. There's really not much to add. This stretch, for better or for worse, just doesn't have much in the way of existing utilities. That the few utilities that did cross the alignment generally were already relocated by the previous builder prior to them leaving the project. So most of our work has been focused on from Silver Spring East, because the nature of those areas being urban and suburban, they are dense with utilities. So that's where most of the focus has been. The work that we have been performing throughout the Bethesda Chevy Chase section has been focused on completing some of the structures that were mentioned to protect them from degradation due to environmental conditions, since a number of those structures were left partially completed by the previous builder. So we completed the work to protect the structures.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for that. And then one more question, Mr. Pollock, you probably anticipated I was going to ask this one. Last month's Councilmember Friedson, as well as Delegate Solomon and Carr and the entire District 18 delegation, sent a request about trying to open up that Sleaford Road pathway. Obviously it looks like the tunnel installation itself has been put in. Obviously, we recognize that additional work is going to have to be done once the new contracting team is in place. But have you been able to look at the possibility of at least granting some temporary access there so people can get back and forth from East Bethesda, Chevy Chase?
No, Aaron, you're right, and thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, so for those on the phone who aren't aware, this is based on a letter we received from Montgomery County's council and state elected officials to expedite the Sleaford Road underpass. So first of all, obviously we appreciate the feedback, because it helps when we know the community's thoughts directly. So that helps us. Where we are right now is we are evaluating our available construction funds. We're also taking a look at the existing condition out there at the underpass, and then we're also already in discussions with potential contractors to see what it would look like for us to bring them back in and start the work. So we're pretty close, and we're really hoping to have an answer shortly, but we don't have an answer just yet. And so that's where we are right now, Aaron.
Okay, I appreciate that update, and thanks for your time.
Okay, we've got a few questions that have come in. For those of you who don't know him, Kevin Oberheim is one of our chief engineers on the project, and you're more likely than not to see him somewhere in the field during your weekday. So he's slim and he drives a white vehicle. So if you see him, just say hi, Kevin.
We're all slim and drive white vehicles.
Hey, some of us. Speak for yourself, Matt. All right. Okay. But before we open up the field of questions, Irene, you said you had a question.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. So this is in regard to the Bethesda portal entrance, the tunnel entrance, and the use of the noise horn. I just wanted to make sure that as previous conversations with Gary have taken place, the idea is that the noise horn would not go off every single time a train would go through, which was what the original plan was, but only if there are workers on the tracks. Is that something that is aligned with what your understanding is?
Gary, do you have an update on that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, please.
The system will be tested as planned, and the option is available to install an on and off switch at that location, so that that will be considered as the testing goes on. So we'll be testing in coordination with you and be in touch with you throughout. So we'll know how the testing and warning alarms impact the community, and then we'll move forward from there. But yes, the intent is to continue as we planned.
As we had discussed, where
yes.
past testing that only when workers are on the tracks.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
You never know, because time has passed, and we just wanted to make sure, because there's a lot of residents right there who live right there. So thank you.
I understand. I've been out there several times.
Thanks, that's all that I had. Appreciate it.
Okay, we got a question from Nadia Kudishcheva. Hope I didn't butcher that too badly. And her question is it true that the New Carrollton to College Park segment is on track to be completed before the Montgomery County section? Will there be phased openings?
Good question. This goes back to when we had the previous design builder, and they were slowly encountering some difficulties. That was one of their suggestions, that perhaps they could split the start of revenue service by doing what sometimes is called an initial or a minimum operating segment. At this time, we're not planning to do an initial operating segment. We want to open up the entire light rail at one time. The construction sequence, on the other hand, does start on the west side, and that's mainly driven by the fact that that's where our light rail facility is. So when our vehicles all come in there, we will be testing out from the light rail facility. So the tracks are going to be laid on the east side first, and so you'll see that, and so you'll see trains being tested on the east side before they start venturing out to the west. But that's only for the testing phase. Right now, we're not expecting to open up in sequences.
Okay, Whitaker Johnston, legislative intern, asks, how heavily is the project relying on Chinese-bought products such as steel?
I will defer that to Vern, because I think he may have a better handle on that, but I think the answer is very good.
Thank you, Matt. Yes,
Yeah.
I can't say specifically what, if anything, manufacturing in China is being used. Bear in mind that because this project receives federal funding, we have to adhere to the federal Buy America clause, which is a very strict clause that governs the construction of the light rail vehicles, as well as the materials and the work for the track systems and so forth, and the other infrastructure. I am not aware of any use of materials from China. Certainly, it's quite possible that some of the electronics and the semiconductors may have originated there. I can't confirm that right now. This definitely is a question perhaps that we'll do some follow-up on and provide a more complete response in the follow-up. So
maybe, what about Kevin? Kevin, do you have any thoughts out there?
In terms of steel, all steel products are going to definitely be made in the United States, and the FTA's Buy America requirements are even more stringent than some of the other federal agencies, notably Federal Highways, which has more provisions for imported materials. FTA's requirements are set a very high bar for American-made products, and essentially all components of the project have to be made in the United States, and both the suppliers and the contractors that are building the work have to certify each month as they submit their payment request to the MTA. They have to certify that all the work that they've installed and all the materials they've installed are in compliance with the Buy America Act.
Yeah. Thanks, Whitaker.
Okay, here's a question from Tom Matsey about property damage. He says, some of us have property damage caused by PLTC and have found their insurer and the state unresponsive. How do we get reimbursement for our damages? Do we really need to make a big fuss? Not a good sign of the type of neighbor the purple line will be. Let me address that to begin with, Matt, and you can weigh in if need be. All of the claims for damage that occurred when PLTC was still on the project have been forwarded or are being forwarded to PLTC. If you feel they're not being responsive, please reach out to us and we will remind them, as we have, that they should respond to your inquiries. Those claims are in their hands, and we are pushing them as much as we can to progress on those claims.
The only thing I would add to that, Gary and Tom, is that to the extent that you are having what you feel are difficulties with getting responses from the state, please make sure you're using the outreach hotline. I keep an eye on all the information that comes into the hotline, and we meet on that to make sure that we're resolving things that come in. So it's a little harder for me to speak on behalf of the PLTC and their departed staff, but I can speak confidently on our staff. So thank you, Tom.
Okay. Delegate Jared Solomon has his hand raised.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. And I just wanted to echo what Aaron had said about the Sleaford Road tunnel, and I appreciate your response to Irene's question. It feels like ages ago that Mayor Rush and I met with Kevin Quinn and his team. So I'm glad to know that that's being followed up on. I guess I have sort of a statement and a question. I know you won't be able to answer this one, but I would just sort of reiterate. I think we say this almost every time we all meet. You know, when there is a new build firm on, I think we all would hope that the commitment to open the trail as early as possible. I know there's been a lot of discussion around when the train is in its testing phase. If the trail is finished, reopening the trail at an earlier point than the Purple Line will actually be active. So I know, again, that really can't be answered until we get a new build design firm on. But I think, we all would love to see that happen. And I guess my question may be better answered by the county folks who are on, but very parochially on the intersection of Jones Mill and Jones Bridge, where I know there's been a lot of construction, the road surface over there, I think, has taken quite a beating. And has been not only there's a pretty sizable pothole, but with the warmer weather, there are a lot of bikers over there, and I don't know if the team has thought about either repaving or maybe adjusting some of the pedestrian barriers now that some more of the construction in that area has been done. But I've seen I live not too far from there as well, and I've seen several near misses, and want to avoid any serious accidents because I know we still have a little ways to go before that intersection is put back to normal.
I'll pass to Marcella first if she has anything just that she wants to add to that.
I'm just here for support, Matt. I think
Yeah.
I think the Purple Line team should address the concern for sure. We've had other concerns and similar complaints in other areas along the alignment. So I'm aware of this, and I brought it up to SHA's attention as well, because some areas are state highways where this needs to happen. And Joe assured me that he was going to assess the situation to address it, but I was not aware of this issue here at Jones Mill Road. So I think we should add it to our list to assess.
I was going to say, Maricela, and I can my office, I can follow up with you, and I can send some photos as well. But yeah, those are county roads over there, so I wasn't sure if it could probably fall in MCDOT's purview.
It's if it's related to the Purple Line, it still falls under MTA's purview for sure. But pictures are always helpful so that we can assess the location and make sure that the right parties are involved in the solutions for sure. Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a question from Dedden Ingram. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, I just had a question, two questions actually. One is, presuming that you do sign a contract in the fall, I was wondering when you anticipated that construction would actually resume. That's my first question. And my second question has to do with whether MTA has any voice in ordering the priority with which some of the unfinished sections are completed. For example, the south entrance to the Bethesda Metro remains uncompleted, and that means that Elm Street has been closed for a couple of years now. That closure is also impacting the beginning of the construction of the Metro Tower project at 7316 Wisconsin, right next to it, just to its north.
All right, thank you. As far as the construction resuming, it's a little hard to put an actual date on it. I mean, the sequence will be essentially when we get our bids in, the concessionaire PLTP will be looking through them, as we will, and then they're going to be making a recommendation to us on selecting a new design builder. With that, then we have to go to the Board of Public Works for approval, and also the concessionaire then needs to secure their financing for the project. From there, it would be relatively a short distance to bring the contractors on board. However, before they actually do the work, they need to go out and fully inspect any areas that they plan to do their work in. So that could be probably up to a couple months. So from the date that they sign the contract, it's not unreasonable to think that there may be maybe 60 days for them to get staffed and mobilized and out onto the site. As far as the prioritization of schedules, the state does not have the ability to dictate sequencing of the work for the contractors. They're responsible for creating what we call the critical path to completion, and anything that we would do to change that schedule as far as giving them different priorities would impact their ability to do the overall project. So in that case, it limits us, and essentially what we do is we give them we get from them their end date, and we have to hold them to their end date as opposed to the interim any types of interim milestones for prioritized work.
Okay. Are there other questions? Please raise your hands. Please raise your hand. You can also type in questions into the chat box, and we'll try to address them. Other questions, please raise your hands. Okay, well, if your question is not addressed tonight, don't worry. All questions will be addressed later in a question and response posting on the website. Similar questions will be combined, so you may not see your question posted verbatim. Additionally, we will accept questions for a week until June 15th at outreach@purplelinemd.com. outreach@purplelinemd.com. So if there's something you didn't think of tonight and want to ask us, please send us a question to the outreach inbox within a week. Seeing no other questions, that concludes our CAT meeting. I want to thank you all for joining us. Matt, do you have any parting words?
I do want to invite everyone to hopefully see us all in person and all get together again when we have our next CAT meeting. I think the state of Maryland has progressed to the point where we should be safely able to all get together again at that time. I look forward to it. And certainly don't forget, if you think of anything in the meantime, please do drop us a line, whether it's to the outreach email address or calling our hotline. Certainly there's no need to wait for these meetings if you have questions or concerns. So thank you.
Good night, everyone.